And we are back on the Zero Hour. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and let's just close this week's show by talking about a few of the things that happened in the news this week. Did you hear that Rupert Murdoch just bought National Geographic? That's right. The infamous head of Fox News just bought the formerly nonprofit educational magazine, known for the beauty of its illustrations and the depth of its coverage about the planet and the cultures upon it. That has been purchased by Rupert Murdoch. Now, a couple things about the new owner of the National Geographic, which covers our planet so well. The new owner of the National Geographic, Mr. Murdoch, does not believe in climate change. Therefore, he disagrees with virtually all the planetary scientists on this earth about that. And he has been known, of course, for interfering in the editorial content of the publications he owns. Now, another thing about Mr. Murdoch, he is an infamous Islamophobe, as anyone who follows his Twitter feed can readily attest. Now, the planet which National Geographic covers includes a significant Muslim population. It will be interesting, if perhaps disturbing, to see if and how that coverage changes under Mr. Murdoch. But it's not just about editorial content. It's about what happens in a society when previously nonprofit institutions are increasingly turned over to the profit sector, to the profit motive, in order to maximize revenue for what today's guest, Mike Consul, called the financialization of our economy. Everything is about profit now. Everything is about short-term gain. Now that will be true of National Geographic, as it became true of Sesame Street, which has moved to HBO and is no longer available on public television, even though Sesame Street was created primarily to help the education of lower-income children, hence the urban setting and so on. So once again, we see this process of financialization taking over even some of our most esteemed nonprofit and educational institutions. Now, speaking of the planet that National Geographic covers, here's another story that we learned thanks to the Washington Post and other news outlets, and this one might disturb you. A giant ancient virus was just discovered in the melting ice in the Arctic. That is to say, the ice which is melting because of the climate change that Rupert Murdoch, owner of the National Geographic, does not believe in. Now, the good news is that this giant virus, which is 30,000 years old, has been buried beneath the ice for 30,000 years. It really does sound like a science fiction movie, doesn't it? This giant virus that had been buried beneath the ice will not kill you. That's the good news. The scientists say it is not deadly, even though by virus standards, it's really, really big. Now, the bad news is that 4 such viruses have been uncovered by melting ice since 2002. And since climate change is, despite Mr. Murdoch's protestations, accelerating, there will be much more melting ice. There are likely to be more viruses uncovered, and there is therefore an increasing possibility that a virus could be unearthed, which would, in fact, be extremely dangerous to humans. Now, last story, perhaps not as grave, and certainly not as grave as the tragic killings of Sandra Bland and others by police officers, but we learn from reporters in Denver that a man received a ticket there for a broken windshield as he was getting it fixed. A guy pulled into the parking lot for a glass repair place to get it fixed. It had only been damaged the previous afternoon, but a police officer gave him a ticket right then and there, despite the fact that the man explained what had happened, despite the fact that the people there at the glass repair shop confirmed that that was what he was doing. He got the ticket anyway. I would argue that just as we are turning everything into a profit motive in this country, we are over-quantifying in our society, whether it's No Child Left Behind and teaching to the test, or police officers who are, in effect, policing to the test because they are measured for the number of tickets they issue and so on. We are overvaluing quantification and undervaluing the human dimension of what we do as a community and as members members of the community, whether we are police officers, teachers, or even publishers of magazines. But we here on the Zero Hour, while we cover science and technology, will not hesitate to remind us all of the human dimension. That's why we're here. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is the Zero Hour.